So, good morning, Ms. Gwenda Fong, Assistant Chief Executive for Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, valued partners, and ladies and gentlemen. Warm welcome really to our second annual SME Cybersecurity Conference. Of course, I think as we mentioned, it's really about looking at towards safer cyberspace for Singapore businesses. But this year, in all new aspect, I think we have to do things differently, as what you can see now. I think in terms of the interaction of virtual, it really changes a lot. But it doesn't stop anything. I think it's really why the conference proceeds as well. So I think as with COVID, we will actually see that digitalization actually gets accelerated. Of course, what all these poses will really be a lot on the opportunities that could come about, but also the risks. So to really set the stage, I think when we look at this, right, digital transformation no longer becomes a maybe, but actually something that has to be put into a thought for everybody from the SMEs. Of course, enterprises have already proceeded. Of course, in this way of looking at these new opportunities that we need to look at, and also new ways to do things. The opportunities always bring around risks. I think with the Chinese saying, I mean, this is always quite true. And one thing in the true aspect for cyber is actually things to be done proactively rather than reactively. I think this has been quite evident. So when we look at this program as we have today, this is really how we have been driving this whole awareness out of our cybersecurity awareness and advisory program, which really aims to actually elevate the SME business owners' fundamentals, as well as progressively create actually ecosystem to actually support that as well. And this is actually probably the best time, I think, in terms of how this maps towards even for Singapore itself, as we also move towards the safer cyberspace as well. Right. So just to share a bit, I think, about what the cybersecurity awareness and advisory program is all about. I mean, in short, it's what we call CAAP. So if I use that acronym, so for start, I think it's really what we recognize as 2 years ago when we start off on this journey to see how we could actually help SME owners or even individuals to achieve this fundamental on cybersecurity awareness. And we look at it from a very collaborative perspective, because we understand, I think, initiatives, such initiatives are not new, but how do we actually look at a common starting point, and most important, to actually provide that guidance and constantly be able to make sure that it's sustainable in that sense. So we look at a few elements, really looking at how that can become part of what the business owner fundamentals. So really to bring that across as a part of the business thoughts as well. Really creating a framework, providing a body of knowledge, determining what is actually important, and most importantly to create that collaboration ecosystem. Looking at how outreach can be sustained, not only for this program, but all related programs, looking at how the knowledge can be shared, not only from professionals, but within the associations, and of course, ultimately to provide that quick link to the solutions as well. And when we see that, one of the key things we identify is, the business and trade associations are very key to this, because this is really what the SMEs are actually are joined together, especially when it comes to their business domains as well as their verticals. And of course, where we come in from professional organizations, together with the agencies, as well with our partners like the vendors, to really provide this sharing as well as advise, even the solutions to actually help them. And when we put up this program, we identified 3 areas. I think the key part that we start off as with this event and with all the workshops we have done, actually with the associations and our partners, is really to start off with the awareness and the training portion. Really try to work together to collaborate on knowledge resources, and most importantly to provide that whole ecosystem, or you want to say even a whole endorsed supply chain on actually the solutions. So when we look at that, I think it really breaks up into various workshops. And even for us, when we look at it, it's is in terms of having that as a mutual feedback. So we look at focus groups discussion to constantly be able to improve on what is actually needed. We look at how we can actually consolidate. And these are actually all done a lot through the volunteers coming from the different associations as well as AiSP as well, right? And of course, ultimately, it's really to provide that guidance to the SMEs in terms of the programs that is currently available, and actually providing an ease of access for them and knowledge to who to go to. So next, I actually really want to share our perspective of how we've been taking in terms of the guidance that we felt that SME business owners are in need. So as with all SME business, we recognize the understanding the landscape actually comes key. So we really started off looking at how digital business actually is key to them. I think reference from what we have in our MBA map as well, industrial maps as well, providing that primer for them to actually understand what are the technologies available and what, if you want to say, planning or understanding needs to go into, even pointing them to potential guidance through some of the SME centers that is available under the associations as well. And from there, then we move on to really educating more towards the threats. And the key focus that we wanted to really educate was really understanding the risks. And of course, the best practices. And of course, most importantly, I think in today's context for businesses is your legal obligations, which could be coming, of course, from PDPA, and as well as the supply chain if you are actually working across with more critical organizations as well. And of course, one of the key things today we do actually recognize as well, especially if you see in the last module, is how do you actually even handle an incident? Are you even prepared to do so? So from this actually forms a framework. In fact, for us, we have been, working even beyond Singapore, getting feedback, I think, from other regional partners we have to really understand. I think if you said across a typical SME or even a digital landscape, how does this actually be relevant? So far, the feedback has been great. So looking at this coming from a business risk towards even closing off with a progressive understanding and ability to handle incidents. So we need to give a bit of how the landscape actually has been. So I think what we do is really this 3 key trusts has been really supported by our volunteers from different associations with AiSP, and a lot of this actually comes out of what we have as a partnership with some of these partnering associations. So really good thanks to them in terms of providing, and how this will be strengthened and further sustained as we move it together as well to support both the members as well as the other organizations. So for us, I think this is part of the co-op that I think as we want to build up this whole ecosystem is really to look at how we can have more associations on board to collaborate as well. So maybe just to move a step back, I think really about how about what AiSP is something that you're not familiar with. So really we started in 2008. We focus on a few key areas, really developing our industrial expertise, competencies for the security professionals. And then of course, in terms of looking after the status and interests for the information security professionals as well. And of course, most importantly, I think this is where this is the key part, that it goes beyond and really looking at how cybersecurity knowledge can be actually pushed forward in terms of ecosystem as well. Right? So in this case, I'll just really sound our vision is really at this point really from the start looking at a safe cyberspace supported by a strong and vibrant cybersecurity ecosystem. Really to be able to advance the knowledge, connect the I would say the members as well, and of course to actually recognize and for excellence, especially within the ecosystem as well. So really at this point, I would really want to say that I think we believe in collaboration, and this is really how we want to look forward to, I think, working closely with any associations or agencies as well as vendors that wish to come on board. And at this point, I really want to thank our guest honor, Ms. Gwenda Fong, ACE for CSA, for making the time today, and as well as our speakers from CSA, PDPC, and also our key sponsors in terms of Acronis, RSA, as well as WSG. So I really hope that the participants, I think, in making time to attend the event today, you actually have a fruitful and productive session. At this point, I really want to actually invite our guest of honor to actually give her opening remarks. So, Gwenda, please.